Hi, it's Imogen here with my friend and co-teacher of Foundations of Regulation, Shay Seaborn. And Shay got a really interesting comment from a Facebook friend about procrastination. And that really, I guess, got us both thinking about what it is and how we use that word and um maybe it's okay to procrastinate. Anyway, Shay, hi. Why don't we just start with your thinking about what procrastination is? What's the actual dictionary definition of it, and we can then go from there.
I'm going to use Merriam-Webster's because it was succinct and it seems to sum up what most of the other definitions say. It says acting so slowly as to fall behind, and it implies blameworthy delay, especially through laziness or apathy. So there's a heavy implication of a character flaw.
Yeah, it's a very loaded word, and it's a shaming
Mm-hmm.
word. I mean, and that's the definition of it. And yet we use that word. I say we, I mean people in general, we're using it all the time. Often in a somewhat flippant way, but not always. And I think we have a bit of a different take about it, that often what people are talking about is actually not procrastination in that strict definition that we got from the dictionary.
Right. Yeah. Well, first of all, anytime that we use a term that is inherently shaming, even if we're using it in a flip manner, it still has an effect on how we think and feel about ourselves. And that affects our nervous system, our affect, our thinking, and our behavior and our relationships. So when we understand that something is pathologizing, it's a really good idea to give it up for something else that's more human and humane and actually more accurate and deeper and broader rather than dismissive.
So what are most people doing when they might use the word or say, I've been procrastinating this thing? Maybe occasionally that actual dictionary definition is true, but I think we talked about that we think in most cases it's not actually what's happening.
Yeah, actually, I want to say they are listening to the intelligence of their body. They might not
Body
realize it.
intelligence.
Yes, they might not realize it, and probably most people don't. They just have a feeling like, I'm not doing that, I can't do it, and they leave it at that, or they blame themselves for not doing it. Oh, I don't know why I keep procrastinating. I don't know why I keep putting that off. But in our culture, we don't really do an inquiry into that. We just label ourselves as a procrastinator or broken or whatever, rather than going, well, what is it in me that's saying no to doing this thing, and why? There's some intelligence there. And also it might be a matter of we don't have the resources right now, or we have other priorities first, or we have resistance to stepping up to cultural demands that don't really mean something to us.
Yeah, so there's a lot of reasons that are completely valid and actually useful for us to delay doing the thing, because in some way we're not ready, or it's not important to us, or it's meaningful. Things could be very meaningful, important, and us not be ready to do them. You talked about resources, and of course, that's when we talk about resources, I think you're talking about things like feeling like you have the physical energy, that you have the emotional regulation that your nervous system feels regulated enough to do this thing, especially if it's something that's more loaded and challenging for you. But also there's outer resources too, from your environment, right? That could support you doing it. So maybe you need quiet and you're in a very noisy environment, or that's a very simple way of thinking of that.
Yeah, or you might need some psychosocial support to build your confidence in your ability to do it, or some actual help. Hey, come sit with me and help me regulate my nervous system while I do this difficult thing. If you don't have access to that outer resource, it's going to be hard.
You've made me think about the word accountability, which maybe that's another word we can discuss, but often people find it helpful to have someone that they are accountable to that helps them do a thing. But that's actually that you've got your support system. You've got this person kind of cheering you on, or even if they're not physically there with you.
Yeah,
so
that can
I'm a bit.
and for people who don't have that, that may be the reason that they procrastinate. They really need that. I mean, we all need that kind of support, and especially since the pandemic, and in the culture we have of separation, a lot of people don't have that kind of support.
So I think it would be a useful thing if people can, one, have some sort of inquiry, like you said, about why am I putting this thing off, but also kind of have I kind of had the idea in Praise of Procrastination, like we're reframing what the word means. That actually this is a really useful thing most of the time, that you're not doing it because you're not ready in some way, or it's not right for you in some way to do that thing.
Yes, there's an intelligence in your resistance, and if you ignore that, you're just going to be confused and mad at yourself. But if you do the inquiry and go into it, you can find all kinds of information about yourself that's really helpful and that you can use to make your life better, and maybe even to stop procrastinating because you've resolved the issue that's preventing you from doing what you would like to do.
So on that note, I'm wondering if that's a good place to kind of finish this little conversation, and we'll do another one about that next step, about that kind of inquiry and curiosity about yourself and what's going on, and how we know, is this actual procrastination, or is this a delay for a very good reason? So does that sound good?
Sounds great. Looking forward to it.
All right, we'll see you again soon.